Okay.
Good. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PAC workshop. My name is Joanne. I'm the graduate program assistant for the PhD program. And I have my colleague joined, Emily. She's the graduate program assistant for the master's program. And also Dr. Lucy Osborne is here with us. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we're going to be we're here today to be talking about PACs and
I was known as a chat.
Yeah. If everyone can mute can everyone mute? That would be great. Okay. Okay, so points of discussion. We're going to be talking about PAC composition, frequency, benefits of holding regular PAC meetings, PAC meeting breakdown, paperwork, and any issues that may arise with your PAC and PAC members. Okay. So PAC composition, ideally what you want to have is you want to have members who can offer you expertise that you may not have elsewhere in your lab. You also want to choose your faculty based on their research expertise, and you should have a conversation with your supervisor about this, who they might suggest based on your research. You need to have it. So with respect to your PAC members, at least one of them needs to have an arm's length relation with your supervisor, meaning that they can't have had a collaboration with your publication with your supervisor in the last 6 years. For quorum for PACs to be achieved, you need to have a minimum of 3 members. If some of you may have a co-supervisor as well, you don't always necessarily have to have a co-supervisor, but if you do have a supervisor and a co-supervisor, they count as one person. So when you're having PAC meetings, in order for quorum to be achieved, both your supervisor and your co-supervisor must also be present. So you can have a mix of scientists and clinicians as well. The only real rule is that when you're choosing PAC members, that you need to make sure that they have an SGS membership, so a graduate faculty membership with SGS. And how you can find this is either going to the SGS faculty website and checking to make sure that they have a graduate faculty, that the person that you're proposing has an active graduate faculty membership, or if they're a member of IMS. And go on our website, faculty there. And lastly, if in doubt, you can also contact our faculty, double check whether or not the person that you're proposing has an active SGS membership. Okay, so how often should you have a PAC meeting? Well, you should have a PAC meeting at least twice a year, so approximately every 6 months, in order to maintain good academic standing. So keep this in mind when choosing PAC members. So if a PAC member, while they may have a really similar research interests as yourself, but are extremely busy, it may be really difficult to be scheduling a PAC meeting with them every 6 months. You should also, when you're scheduling PAC meetings, so when you have your first PAC meeting, you should also be then thinking about, at the end, scheduling your second PAC meeting and scheduling your third PAC meeting and so on. So that way, the data set or the tentative data set, and it makes it easier. So for those of you, I know it might be a little early, but those of you who are thinking about transferring from the master's program into a PhD program, or for those of you who are direct entry PhDs, the transfer exam and the qualifying exam do not count as PAC meetings. Those are separate. So if you're thinking about holding a transfer exam, you should have at least 1 or 2 PAC meetings, depending on when you're holding your transfer exam. And the transfer exam does not count as like your second or your third PAC meeting. Okay. And the benefits of holding regular PAC meetings. So why do you do it? Well, because your PAC can give you advice on your research and your experimental designs. They can offer you advice if your research isn't progressing the way in which you think that it is. And they can sort of help guide you in your project if you're coming across stumbling blocks. You know, they're there to offer expertise and to troubleshoot. And again, those of you might be a little too early to think about, but also something to keep in mind if you're thinking about transferring from the master's into the PhD program. They can also advise you on whether or not they think you're ready to hold the transfer exam and to transfer into the PhD program. And you know, they're also there to offer consideration for internal awards as well. So if they think that you might be a good candidate or that you might be eligible for internal awards at IMS, they're also a good resource to start with there. And they're also there to help you keep you on track and to make sure that you finish your degree requirements and your program requirements in the sort of allotted time frame. And something to note for the PhD students is that you need to have held at least 4 PAC meetings in order to be able to have achieved candidacy and to be eligible to hold your final exam. Great. So I will send it over to Joanne and she will talk about PAC Meeting Breakdown.
Thank you, Emily. So for the PAC Meeting Breakdown, first students are responsible for setting up their PACs. So ensure that you discuss with your supervisor for few availabilities. You can use platform like Doodle to schedule and get a suitable time for your PAC members. And allow 2 to 3 hours for a meeting. It could be longer or shorter depending on your progress stage and the members who are present at the meeting. And also please send out your reminders before the meeting with date, time, and location, as well as your brief abstract and any updates on your project. Bring your PAC forms. It's a PDF file which you can download from our website, and I will also show you the forms. And during the PAC meeting, students are to present their work, and the general process is that first PAC members will introduce themselves, as well as you will introduce yourself to your PAC members, and they will ask you to step out to the waiting room, and they will discuss the procedures. Then after that, they will invite back you to the room and you will do your 20-minute presentation. This is where you can introduce your research, the concept and results, and talk to your supervisor regarding more details about your presentation. And after that, you will have a question period. So you can write down some notes about the questions that you received, as well as you can have your supervisor to take minutes for you. And lastly, PAC meetings should be honest and evaluation of the student based on their performance. Next slide, please. So paperwork. Each PAC member generates a written and signed report evaluating the student's progress with recommendations. And the outcome of the advisory committee is an academic decision and it cannot be appealed. So after your PAC meeting, complete your PAC forms and submit the same and related minutes as a one PDF file to Emily at MSc@MedScience if you are a master's student, and to myself if you are a PhD student at phd.medscience, and to every member of your thesis committee within 2 weeks of each meeting. Also, your subject line of the email should be next committee meeting, October 30th, 2021 at 2 p.m. or whatever date that you agreed upon. PAC needs to be approved by IMS, and IMS will review the PAC reports, and we will take steps to ensure that students stay on track. And next slide, please. So this is the PAC approval form. You can go back. So before you have your first PAC, you need to submit this form to either Emily or to myself. And we will review your PAC members and let you know if your members have been approved. And next slide. Then after that, you will, after your PAC meeting, you will fill out this form, PAC report, and you need to get a signature from all your PAC members and submit it to one of us. And those forms can be downloaded on our website. Also, I can put the link in the chat. And lastly, some students have issues with their PAC. Sometimes they don't have enough members attending, meaning lack of quorum. So remember that your supervisor and 2 other PAC members must attend the meeting. Otherwise, the meeting will be canceled. And sometimes some of your PAC members have limited expertise in your research area. So it's important that before you choose your PAC members, you need to consult with your supervisor so that they can be able to guide you on choosing the right PAC members. Also, limited availability. You need to make sure that your PAC members are able to come into your PAC meeting every 6 months. So again, in order to choose a suitable time and date, you can use platforms like Doodle. And lastly, if you have any conflict with your committee members or with your supervisor and it is not resolved, please contact IMS and we will do our best to assist you. So that's it for our presentation. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask, or you can put them in the chat.
Hi, can you just confirm what has to be submitted after the PAC meeting? Is just the form?
Yes. So after the PAC meeting, if you have already submitted a PAC approval form, then yes, the PAC form, and as well if there's any additional PAC meeting minutes that aren't included in the PAC form itself, those can be included as well.
Just a question around the timeline. When does the 6 months start? Is it from like the first day of like mid-September? For the first PAC meeting?
Yeah, we expect most students to hold one in about February. It seems to be about appropriate. You know, it's giving you a chance to kind of firm up your research proposal and kind of get settled in, and you know, you should be ready for a PAC by then. So really by mid-February you should have held a PAC, or be holding a PAC. So that means your PAC approval needs to go in before that. But is there a date, Emily and Joanne, that the PAC approval is kind of?
No, I mean, because there isn't like a hard deadline, but we've been going off of the, like you said, the mid-February. So if you can get in your PAC approval and sort of solidify your PAC as soon as possible to be able to sort of give you a chance to start your research proposal and have something to present to them around mid-February. So
Yeah, and to schedule, because people are busy, so you'll need some lead time to be able to schedule the meetings. You can't call a meeting like next week. So if you want to call it in mid-February, you need to be kind of arranging it as soon as you come back after the winter break. So there were some questions in the chat there too. 3 PAC members, including supervisor. Yes, including supervisor. You need at least 2 other people. You can have more. It makes the logistics of organizing a PAC more difficult. And what a lot of people do is they'll initially have their supervisor and then maybe 2 other members. But as they go through their research, they find that they're doing something which needs different expertise. And so they may bring an additional person in later.
Yeah, and then also to add to that, particularly for the PhD students who are hopefully with us for a while, if there are changes to your PAC in terms of, if your supervisor leaves or if you're switching PAC members, you also need to inform us and then resubmit another PAC approval form for that change. But I'll go through. So is there a program meeting representative for the meetings? Should we make our supervisor the host of the meeting? So I think this refers to chairs, if I'm correct.
Hi, sorry, no, that was my question.
Okay.
I'm just wondering like exactly what the logistics are, kind of what the norm is, because we would be let out into the waiting room while they're making their decision, right? So that means somebody else has to be the host. So do we just normally make our supervisor the host and they kick us in and out?
For virtual stuff, yes. So if you're the one who's organizing you're hosting the link, you would just transfer hosting from yourself to either your supervisor or to the chair of the meeting.
So who would be the chair then?
It depends. It can change from. It can either be your supervisor. It could be if you have 2 other PAC members. One meeting it can be PAC member number 1, and then the second meeting it could be PAC member number 2.
You should try and set up a chair at the beginning. It can't be your supervisor. The idea is to have somebody separate from your supervisor. But you probably discuss at the first meeting who that's going to be. And it's easier if you maintain that person as the chair over the different meetings. Just logistically, it's easier. But there should be an opportunity for you to talk to your PAC when the chair actually kicks your supervisor out of the meeting or puts them in the waiting room for a few minutes as well. So you do not want your supervisor chairing the meeting, because there should be the opportunity for them to discuss your progress when you're not there, and for you to discuss anything else you want to discuss with your PAC members when your supervisor's not there.
Okay, Dr. Osborne, sorry, one more question. So what exactly would be the role of the chair then? Are they just the one to kind of fill out the form and then get it back to me, and
they
then
should be doing the form? Yeah,
okay.
it just makes it a little bit more arm's length if somebody else is filling in the form, a little bit more, hopefully, a bit more impartial. Not that anybody's supervisor should be saying bad things about you, but sometimes they actually say too many good things about you, because it's supposed to be a fair assessment of where you're going and to help you move forward and help you with your research. And so you really want a good feedback as to where you are and how you're doing. So you want good and honest feedback. And sometimes supervisors can be a bit soft, I find. And so having a chair do it just makes it a little bit more impartial.
Noted, thank you.
And next question, does a co-supervisor need to be from IMS? So in most cases, if your supervisor doesn't have a full membership, your co-supervisor needs to have a full membership at the IMS. So yes, they need to be from IMS.
Yeah, you have to be an IMS faculty member to be a supervisor of any description. We often have students who ask if they can have somebody from another department as a co-supervisor, or somebody even from a different university as a co-supervisor. And you can't, unfortunately, because they have to have a School of Graduate Studies membership. You can still have those people as collaborators, and you can still talk about your work with them, but they can't be on your PAC, because your PAC is actually regarded by the School of Graduate Studies as an exam. And so there are rules, and the rules are that everybody in that room has to have an SGS appointment. So you can't have a postdoc in your PAC meetings either, or anything like that. You can't, or a collaborator who's not officially on your PAC. Only PAC members can attend. And Joanne was saying, if you have a co-supervisor, sometimes when you're an associate member, that's if you're a PhD student, you have to have at least one full member as a co-supervisor.
So next question in the chat is, do we have, basically, are you meeting them online or in person? Currently, as far as I'm aware, everything is online. I don't know if anybody is organizing currently their PACs in person. I don't think so, but for the last, year and a half, 2 years, everything has been online. So either through Zoom or Teams or I don't know, Skype.
I would certainly encourage people to move back to in-person meetings when they can, when it's kind of feasible. I know it's still tough to go between locations and between hospitals and things like that right now, but I imagine in January it'll be much easier, and it's really a much more pleasant experience in person, I think. It's nice to see people, so I would definitely encourage you to get back to that when you can.
The next person in the chat is asking if you get an unsatisfactory report or an unsatisfactory PAC meeting report. So it depends. Usually you have to then hold subsequent PAC meetings. So usually your PAC will have made suggestions on your research for things that need to be addressed, and you will then need to have held a subsequent PAC meeting, those to see if all of those unsatisfactory or the things that they've deemed unsatisfactory are fixed. And also let us know as well. So if you're in the master's, let me know. If you're in PhD stream, let Joanne know. We'll go from there.
And the next question is it the responsibility of the student or the supervisor to choose the PAC members? You and the supervisor together can choose the PAC members. If you want to have a specific member, you can consult with your supervisor, and sometimes your supervisor also may advise to ask this professor to be in your PAC meeting because she or he has a lot of knowledge in your research area.
I have another person asking about timeline flexibility. So yes, the average is 6 months. We know it may be a bit difficult to schedule depending on within the time frame, but 6 months, 7 months, it's fine.
And another question, Dr. Osborne, did you say PhD students need to have one full co-supervisor in addition to our primary supervisor? So if your supervisor has a full membership, then you don't need to have a co-supervisor. But in most of cases, if your supervisor doesn't have a full membership, then your co-supervisor needs to have a full membership. And Emily?
Yeah, and then there's a U of T joined the PAC to help guide the meetings. No, they need to be either, they need to be an approved member of your PAC because PAC meetings are closed. And they also then, in addition to that, must be approved by us and a member of SGS.
So you were cut off a little bit. So if you would like to have a person joining your PAC meeting, they cannot be a PAC member, but they can join your meeting if you get consensus from other PAC members?
No.
Sorry, Joanne, no.
Oh, sorry.
The only place you can have an invited member is sometimes at your final defense. A PhD, you can have
Oh,
somebody
yes.
come in and listen to your talk, and then they have to leave for the questions. But for the PAC, you can't have anybody except who's on your approved PAC form to attend, nobody else.
Yeah, sorry, I cut off, but the answer is basically no.
Yeah.
They need to be approved by us, and they also then need to be a member of SGS.
Yeah, otherwise they're just a collaborator. You can meet with them as many times and often as you like separately outside a PAC. You know, somebody said people are essential to our project. We're not associated with SGS. You can do whatever you like with them separately. They just can't be in the PAC meeting.
Yeah, and I think so. Then there's another question in the chat for PhD students. Co-supervisor should be from IMS. Yes, they should be from IMS.
Brett, yes, there is flexibility with the 6 months. It's not like an exact date that's put in there. We recommend you have them roughly every 6 months, and people generally try and stretch them out a bit. We certainly don't recommend too infrequently, you know, just because they really help with progress. But it's not, nobody's counting the days. So somebody actually has a hand up, so maybe we should ask that person if they want to speak.
Yeah, sorry, could I just ask a question? I was wondering, is the arm's length criteria referring to that your supervisor and a PAC member cannot have written a published article together?
Now that's our definition of arm's length. Well, actually, that's the kind of SGS definition of arm's length, which we use for exams. It's not strict for a PAC meeting. That's because sometimes there are people who are really useful, and you might actually have two people who have co-authored a paper with your supervisor at some point. We just want somebody in the room who's not closely collaborating with them at the present time, just to, you know, introduce that more of that impartiality. And you know, you could be working on a research project and your supervisor and the collaborator are also actively involved in that project. You want somebody who has a different point of view, who can come in from the arm's length point of view and say, yeah, you know, that all sounds good, but what about this? Or how about you do this? Or how about using this technique? So you need that kind of outside lens. That's what we're saying.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not, nobody's going to check and see if they've co-authored a paper or, you know, whatever with your supervisor. It's just a recommendation.
And what should be sent to the PAC prior to the first meeting? Just a general abstract or any updates of your project, just to give them a heads up.
Yeah, we know that it's probably not going to be a whole lot in your first PAC meeting. There's probably not going to be as much to discuss as in your second PAC meeting. But yeah, like Joanne said, an abstract of your research and projected timeline is what you should be discussing in your first PAC meeting.
There seems to be lots of confusion about, you know, who needs to be a member of what. And so your supervisor, and if you have a co-supervisor, your co-supervisor, if you don't have one, doesn't matter. Anybody who supervises you has to be an IMS member. The other people on your PAC can be from any department, but they have to be the University of Toronto and they have to have an SGS appointment. So they have to be a member of the School of Graduate Studies. So there's no restriction about what hospital they work at, or you know, they can all be, you can all have all your PAC members from the same site, but they all have to have an SGS appointment, and your supervisor has to have an IMS appointment.
Any other questions?
Well, there was a question about what should be sent to the PAC prior to the first meeting. Did we do that? Did I miss that?
Yeah, just a general abstract.
So there's actually, there's a template on the website. If you go to the PAC information on the website, there's a template that for you to, and you can kind of follow the template. So it'll just kind of, you want to provide a brief outline of what your project is. We're on lots of PACs, so I'm probably on 15 or so PACs. So I don't remember one project to the next. So you need something in advance that you can read through, and so familiarize yourself with the project and the student again, and kind of get up to speed on roughly where you are before we go into the meeting and see all the slides and everything. So it's basically, it's something that's providing a little bit of background, a little bit of update about where you were, where you've gone since the last meeting, and how you've addressed any questions that were brought up in the meeting, in the previous meeting. Obviously that won't count for your first one, but there is a template. So I say just follow that and don't make it super long. A couple of pages is plenty.
And there's a question from Lauren. Lauren, if you can unmute yourself.
I'm not really in a position where I can talk right now. I'm in a library.
Okay, so that's okay, Lauren. So you asked about if a co-supervisor for your project from LMP, can they sit in your PAC? They are not officially a co-supervisor, so they cannot sit on your PAC, no. No departments allow supervisors from different departments. And that supervisor would have to be cross-appointed in, one of your supervisors would have to be cross-appointed to 2 departments so that you could have 2 in the same. Nobody allows that. SGS doesn't allow it. So they can't officially be your co-supervisor. They can be your co-supervisor in a practical way, like of your research, but they means they can't attend your PACs and they can't attend your exam. Okay, I see Dorothy. Yeah, so you can have everybody from the same site. Yes, we don't advise it necessarily just because you're looking for variety in your PAC, and usually you're not going to find that variety all at the same place, but sometimes you will. So.
Okay, so Olivia's asking to confirm about PAC composition again. So yes, minimum 3 people are required. If you have a co-supervisor, the supervisor and the co-supervisor count as 1 person, even though there are physically. So then that would then mean that you need 2 others. So if you have a supervisor and then a co-supervisor, they're 1 person, and then one PAC member number 1, and then PAC member number 2.
Yeah, and Atir is asking about the handbook. It's just being proofread right now, and so it should be uploaded tomorrow. You should get the new handbook by tomorrow or Thursday at the very latest, I would say, probably tomorrow.
And the other question is that one of my potential PAC member is working on getting the SGS status and IMS membership. So it depends on if your faculty member is renewing it or getting promotion, or if they are freshly applying it. So I would suggest you to check with Alicia, email sf.medscience in order to check your PAC members' status.
I know they have a meeting coming up quite soon for membership. So
I
by
think
the time you get round to your PAC, you'll know if that person's already applied, then you'll know whether or not they have a membership.
Yeah, if they're brand new for a membership, yeah, I think the meeting is at the end of the month. So I would hold off on your submitting your PAC approvals so that once they hear the definitive results from the result of that.
Faraz asks about whether your PhD topic will be cleared in your first meeting or should you have the results. Most people have some sorts of results at their first meeting, but nothing super meaty at that point. So it's really just explaining your rationale and the proposed experiments that you're thinking of, so that you get it's not approval per se, but you can have a good discussion with your PAC about whether that's the right way to go forward or whether it needs tweaking. And it's just really helpful. So you're not expected to have a ton of results. You don't need to worry about that.
Is there any question? Oh. Are there any other questions that I'm missing in the chat? Did we get them all?
And if you think of things afterwards, you know, Emily and Joanne are there to answer your questions, and they're more than happy to do so, or as am I. So don't be shy. Also, your supervisor, most supervisors have been through this multiple times, so they should know what's going on as well, you would hope.
Or at least, you know, if you have a PAC already sort of established and it's been approved, you can also reach out to one of them as well. I'm sure they also have had experience, particularly if you have a co-supervisor, they would also have experience as well. So, you know, that's what they're there for.
And you can also use your PAC at other times, not just for your meetings. So if you have questions about things, or you know, you want a different opinion about something, or if you have something that you really don't want to talk to your supervisor about for some reason, something that's not going well, but you know, you're having some conflict, or you know, just a problem, you can always go to one of your PAC members and talk to them as well. You can use them separately, not just in the PACs.
Yeah, so I put my email in the chat if, you know, you at the end of the meeting, if you're like, oh, I should have asked that, you know, master students, transfer students, hello, I can answer them.
Any other last minute question? Okay, we will end our workshop here. Thank you everyone for attending, and please let us know if you have any questions. And we will send you the link after by this week.
Yep. Great. Thanks, everyone.
Nice to see you all. Nice to see so many of you.
I know, it's great.